step to me.
Hi guys, welcome back to part 5 of the Luuk van Dijk remix contest start to finish. In the last episode, if you've already watched it, you'll know that I got stuck a little bit on the melodic elements, and what I decided to do was I decided to take some time away from the camera and just experiment a little bit more and then come back and explain what it is I've changed. The main reason being I felt that I wasn't getting anywhere in the last video and I didn't want to put out another video that something potentially didn't happen and it's a waste of everyone's time. So what I've done today, I've actually been experimenting more with the sounds and I've actually arranged the full track now. So I'll run over what's new and what's changed. The main thing I've focused on really is this whole kind of second half of the song. So that's what I felt was going to be an issue. Like there wasn't enough elements to continue the song to make it interesting. At the point of the last video, I think I used everything that I had here and it just wasn't, it to me felt like if I was going to end up repeating the song, then it's going to get boring fast. So I wanted to introduce something new, and that's what I've done. I've done some kind of plucky melody. I've also used a bit more of the original samples from the remix pack. Yeah, I've just arranged it out a little bit more. I think I made this drop 16 bars shorter, or 8 bars shorter I should say, just to kind of make it flow a little bit better as a full track, and it's gone up to 6.5 minutes, which I think is a good amount of track time. At the end of the last episode, I actually played the whole thing through from how much I had of the track. And after I played it through, I kind of felt that some of the elements were okay in terms of the melodies. So I actually have kept those. I never fully got rid of them. What I ended up doing was just kind of arranging it a little bit more. I took this audio, I used the auto filter. I think I did this in the previous video so you can see how I've actually made this. And basically I just played the track out. So that's the recording I did. And basically what I did was I played this audio track and just moved the filter like this to get all these different kind of sounds. And then I've cut that audio file up and that got me this. There's a delay on this now and I've got this really nice sound that comes in. And it's just an interesting variation to this. And then I use this part to introduce the sound, and then we kind of mix the two together here to get this. It's a very rich sound, lots of delay going on. And I think because I'm using this as like more of like a delayed version, it works well with this. I'm wondering if I do need to kind of sidechain it to this version, just so it's not a lot of interference. I might do that at the end though, when it comes to doing like a final master, which I'm hoping to do in this episode too. So let me play for you what I've done, what I've changed. So I'll do it from here, this build up, because this is more or less the same. Or is it? No, we'll do it from here. Do it from here, because this is what I did change. So this is where I'm up to. So this is all the new part. We're using the original bass sample more. And then I'm introducing a new pluck melody for the second drop. Notice how everything's bouncing off one another. So yeah, that's more or less the ending of the track. We do have a proper outro which starts just removing the stuff, removing the elements, and then you get the DJ outro. Don't really need to talk about that much because it's more or less a carbon copy of the intro. So yeah, what I ended up doing with this was I was starting to mess around with leads, and that's when I got this kind of plucky melody. I found a sound in a serum pack, and I think I changed just the kind of shape of it, and you know, the making it wider, the noise levels, and then just have to play with the keyboard, and then I came up with this melody. So when I played it, I originally played it on the keyboard. I then quantized it to the 16th grid, and then applied the groove swing again to keep everything consistent, keep every element in this track that needs to go, that needs a bit of swing to it, has the same swing, and that helps keep all this the same, basically, all gelled together. And yeah, I pretty much did that very shortly after I stopped recording the last video. It didn't take me long to kind of come up with that. I think my issue was I needed something else to work with the breakdown. I didn't want to just, you know, have the bass playing again like we did over here in this break. Again, it's just, it felt boring to me. It felt that I was just doing the same thing again. Only difference now is we're introducing this kind of plucky lead. So I wanted to still change it up. And that's when I decided to look at the bass synth more. And all I did really, I just opened it up from this part that I've used several times. This is the exact same part all the time. I just opened it up and realized that it does sound pretty nice. And then at that point, it was just about kind of arranging what I already had to work with this element. And like I said, as I was playing this, naturally, the way these sounds are working before I introduced this was they were already kind of like bouncing off one another. So if we open all the sounds up, you'll see what I mean. Just look at this pattern. It goes, plays this, then it plays this, back to this, back to this. And that with the bass as well worked really nicely. So here it's quite empty because that helps the tension, especially when you go from this full section to the breakdown. And then in the plug, there's several things being automated. There's the mod amount one, which I believe is so that's changing this blue filter line. So it starts off quite closed, and then opens up like that. Then we're also changing the reverb, which is down here, which again is just changing the mix of the reverb. And there's also the delay, which I believe is changing the delay. I don't think that's the one I wanted, actually. I think I wanted to change the decay, but it sounds all right, so I'll just leave it as it is. Other little effects that are happening here, I think I've got endless smile. Yes, endless smile on the drums. Very light, because it's getting filtered out anyway, but it does add something to the build up by washing out the drums. Almost works like a white noise lifter, uplifter. And then I've done the same with the bass, so some endless smile, and it's literally the first preset in endless smile, which is basically just a reverb. Probably need to bring it back down actually at this point. What I really like about this section is that we're going back to the original already. Like I feel like this remix is quite unique, but in the same breath, it's also our remix. It's not something completely new. It's using quite a lot of the original sounds, but using this, which is one of the main parts of the original, just helps bring that original flavor to my version, and I'm really happy that it's worked out this way. One thing I haven't checked with this breakdown is how it sounds in mono, because what I'm actually doing, I'm doing something a little different than what I normally do. I have a utility on the master, and what I will do in breakdowns and build-ups is I'll lower the gain by like maybe 1 to 2 dB right just before the drop, just so it feels more impactful here. But what I normally would do with the width on the utility as well is I'd bring it down so it gets more mono as it's getting closer to the drop, and then as it opens up on the drop it feels more impactful. But what I'm doing is here I'm doing the opposite, and I believe this was something John Summit says he does, and it just helps make the build up feel much bigger and just a lot more energetic. And I felt that mine was a bit lacking in that, so that's why I've kind of pushed it out. But I might have pushed things out too wide because it might be causing problems in mono, so that's what I'm just going to check now. So for the most part, it sounds okay. I think the main problem's the pluck. We're losing that sound, and with it being a lead, it's quite important. So that's it in stereo, and that's it in mono. So yeah, I'm gonna have to try and figure something out there. We are detuning this sound, so that's why we are getting the stereo sound, but maybe we need to just reduce it slightly. So I'm adding another layer just to be able to have something a bit more concise in the mono, in mono basically, yeah. What other effects have we got on? So we've got some distortion, delay, reverb, filter. Nothing really there. I thought it might have had some hyper distortion or hyperdimension or the chorus on there, but it doesn't seem to have that. It's very loud at the start, it's odd. I wonder if the velocity's got... Let's have a look and see if the velocity is doing anything. It is, I just can't find where the amp, there you go. So let's just make everything the same. We are getting more high end with that, so let's keep it up. And then apply that to this. I'm gonna have to do the same here too. 98. And now the filter is probably changed as well. Yeah, what a nuisance. Sometimes when you're using a preset, it is good to go in the matrix bit, just so you can see what's being automated. What I noticed then was there's two LFOs being used, and this second one, oh sorry, the first one is the amp. I don't actually think it's doing anything. I think that's what this is. Yeah, but I'm just gonna turn it off anyway, just so I know for a fact it's not changing anything. Something's definitely changing. Just not sure what the hell it is. Because every time I'm playing it, it sounds different. So something's being automated over time, but not necessarily to the BPM. So this is changing when there's a pluck. So, and that's linked to this. I've just realised it's because I'm detuning. So the detunement's never going to be the same, so that's why it's different every time. Okay, that sounds quite a lot better. Let's listen to it from here. Back in mono. So what I've decided to do to fix my issue is I've, instead of detuning the sound, I've now replaced it and gone back to just one unison. We are using 2 layers, but that's fine. That's just kind of shaping the sound, so it's a little different than just a square wave. But what I've done instead, I've then put on Ozone Imager 2 on it to then make it a bit more wide. There is still some width to it because there's reverb and delay. So having this on there is keeping that mono signal, but it's adding a little bit more stereo signal too. And that's fixed my pluck issue in mono, so it's not phasing. So this is in mono currently. Whereas before, with 5 unison, it's because there's small voices, they're all interfering with one another, and that's cancelling out the sound, making it kind of change in volume. So certain hits are louder than others. So changing that to 1 unison, which is basically one version of this, one sound, and then using the Ozone Imager has fixed that issue, while keeping some stereo signals too. So what I'm aiming to try and do, after I create kind of the basic arrangement like I did at the start of this video, all I had before was kind of like a repeating 8-bar, 8-bar groove going that happened for 32 bars, and that can get pretty boring quickly. So the goal is after that is to then try and keep things interesting. So that I've done that by actually taking stuff away, as well as adding. So beforehand I had the ride hitting here, but what that kind of it wasn't needed here. The drop's already pretty impactful. So saving that for a bit later on adds that little bit more energy to this second part, and that's something I like to do a lot. I've done the same over here. I do need to check that it sounds okay though. Probably needs a little bit of work, but it's fine. It does work. Because what I found I had was basically using the ride on every drop. So there's one there, and it's a bit repetitive. The next thing I've done is tried creating some variation at the end of each 8 bar. Only on this one I've kind of put it at the start of that 8 bar instead. And then we've got the actual like kind of outro here as well. And then I'm also bringing back that bass that opens up around here, I think it is. But I didn't want to do that too much. It works in certain areas. I didn't want to copy the exact same thing over here. And I'm also changing this kind of effect to work at the end of the 8 bars instead of here, because it sounds a bit weird over here. I might have to change that there too. Is that the same pattern? Oh yeah, it's just I've changed it blue to signify that, indicate that that's a change. So I should do that actually. I think a symbol here would sound pretty good. Something like that. Pretty sure that might be the same as what I've already got elsewhere, but let's listen. It's the same rhythm, but because these are opening up a bit more, it does sound different. Cutting things up to create something new from the elements we've already got. At this point, I believe it's 52, so there's 50 tracks, which is quite a lot, especially for this sort of style. Some of the stuff I haven't used, actually, come to think of it. So it's like 40, for example, has got 2 elements in, so it's probably more like 35 to 40 tracks in this, which is quite a lot. So that's when starting to take things away to create variation can help, rather than introducing new elements. I am putting the whole drum rack into the room reverb, but I feel like the clap's a bit too short and too dry. So I'm just putting that into it as well, which is fine. Sounded pretty good, that, to me. One thing I did notice, and this is something that I've only just realised, is because I've just added the clap and I think it's the top loop to the room reverb. This is kind of, you know, there's something called gain staging, which is kind of like, not gain staging, signal flow. So signal flow is when it's basically the order of everything. So this is pretty clear here what's happening. We've got the clap that we're then saturating, we then EQ it, and then we add 2 reverbs to it. But what this isn't doing is the clap is, without this on, we were just having the drums go into the room reverb. But now what's happening is this clap is also going into the room reverb. And what that means is that these effects are not being applied to that clap when it goes into the room reverb. Now that's causing this sound. So if I turn the auto filter off, you can hear the clap and the top coming through. If I just get rid of those again. Oh, there's another element that has it as well. Oh, the hats. There you go. And that's not what I want. I want everything to be filtered here. So I'm having to put a filter on the room reverb now, which isn't a problem. I just thought I'd outline what's happening there with the sound. Okay, so after listening to those parts and working my way through the track, I'm pretty happy with this now in terms of the actual arrangement, the idea, and pretty much the mix down. I think the mix down's more or less there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly put together a little master just in this project as kind of a demo master, not an official master. And yeah, then it's done. So I can get this track exported and sent in. So after starting editing the video, I noticed that the last probably hour of it was really choppy in terms of the screen. So I didn't want to upload that, and because it was so bad and so stuttery that you couldn't see anything that was going on. It would just be the same frame for about 30 seconds and then the next frame for 30 seconds, and it was terrible. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly go over the whole mastering process again really quickly, and the project that's been done now. So unfortunately you can't see me tweaking things as I'm going, but I will talk through what I changed in the end and the overall track at the end. So I believe one of the first things I did was I felt that the high end was lacking. So what I do like to do is I like to get this free plugin on there and boost the 10 hertz upwards. And basically what I then do is I pretty much take elements of the song, so like the drums, and put that into the return channel. So if we were to mute this, solo it, it's mostly just the drums, I think. Maybe a bit of percussion. No, not even any percussion. So it's just the drums. And then this just adds a like nice little extra high end to the overall sound. Makes it feel sharper, so that's why I like to do that. So that was one of the first things I did, just to kind of enhance the overall mix down. And then a lot of what I do is all in Ozone 8. So here it is, and I'll just quickly play this main part with Ozone 8 so you can see how it looks. So as you can see in the actual clip, a lot of it looks like it's actually going above the 0 dB, and it is doing, but I've pushed it so much up to a point that I'm happy with, and I don't feel like the distortion is causing that many issues. So that's basically what's going on. But yeah, the first thing I'd like to do is stick an imager on it and then click learn and let it do its thing. And then at that point, that's when I start taking the parts, which are down here, and making them either wider or more mono. As you can see, this below 200 is all mono. And then I've reduced it slightly between 200 and 2.2K. So we still have some stereo going on, but not a lot. It's more controlled, and I quite like to do that for these two bands. Keep it a bit more in the center, a bit more controlled. And then the last two in the high end region, that's when we start pushing things wider to kind of get those sounds to stand out more and just overall make it sound a lot crisper. If I turn it off and on, you'll hear the difference it makes. So I'll start with it off. And now I'm going to put it back on. Never mind. Let's try that again. So this is it off. And this is it on. So that high end is a lot sharper and the low end is a lot tighter, and that's what I really like about this effect. Next we have some EQ. Not really much going on. This is quiet. I probably should go in really into the track, or I probably should have, I should say. This is way after the deadline at this point, and unfortunately it didn't win, but that is what it is. I still am very happy with the song, and will probably play it in my DJ sets because I think it's cool. But yeah, like these things really should have been kind of sorted out in the mixing, because these are quite harsh kind of edits in the EQ. And we're adding a bit more high end and a bit more low end too. Then we've got this dynamics, which is basically a multi-band compressor. And what you'll notice is a lot of them are very light. They're not really, if you see here, you'll see the little like lines coming down, the coloured lines. That's how little is being actually compressed. And it tells you down here too. So these three bands tend to be about no more than -1, and I believe the low end, the real low end, is a bit more compressed. And that allows us to get a bit more headroom for pushing the threshold down of the maximizer and getting it overall a lot louder. If I turn this off, you'll see how drastic the blue line is here, which is the sound going above 0 dB and then being limited. So them kicks are really pumping, whereas with the dynamics on, there's less of it, and there's less distortion overall. And that's it really. That's the usual chain I use for my demo masters. What would normally happen if I was going to release this with a label would be I'd send them a pre-master, minus 6 dB pre-master, which is basically just everything without Ozone on, because I like to try and aim for, well, my kick, which should be the loudest part of the track, is normally around minus 6 dB. So with that off, let's see where we're peaking. So there is certain parts that are going over, and the loudest so far is minus 3. So what I would do in that scenario, when I need to send this off to a professional masterer, sound engineer, I'd just bring that down minus 3, just so it never goes over minus 6. So even there we've gone over slightly, so bring it down a little bit more. And then, yeah, it's down to the professional to mix these, master this track better and more professionally, ready for SoundCloud, Spotify, and just general use like Beatport as well. So yeah, that's the project. I apologise that I've had to go back in and kind of re-show you this and not be able to show you as I'm working on it. It's a real shame really, because I think I had to cut out like 45 minutes of that video, which was just focusing on mixing and mastering. But to be honest, I wouldn't want to say I'm an expert at it. I reckon that someone else can definitely get this mixed and mastered much better than I would be able to. So, and there's plenty of those people that you can view on YouTube. So let's have a look at the loudness meter just to get an overall gauge of how loud this is. Normally I tend to aim for minus 7 or minus 8 LUFs. And as you can see, we're coming in at minus 7.6, which I think is fine. And yeah, that's the project, guys. So unfortunately, this didn't win. I'm now talking to you from the 26th of January, so the day before this is actually going to go up. The contest finished on the 4th, so we've had a good couple of weeks since then. What I'm going to do with this project in the next video, as a bonus video, is I'm actually going to take this and rework it, because I can't release this song. I mean, I could give it out for free, but I don't want to ruin a potential relationship in the future, because one of the rules of the contest was that you can't actually distribute this on your own if you win or lose. I don't really want to be annoying anyone over at Dark Side of the Sun, so I'd like to keep that potential relationship that might happen in the future open. So to do that, I don't want to piss him off, and what I'm going to do instead is actually strip out parts of this song that belong to his original and rework it, because I'm allowed to do that, because this is my song. So yeah, that's going to be the next episode of this, a little bonus episode. We'll see where we can go with this song, how we can change it, how we can potentially even improve it. And then, yeah, let's see where we can send it to afterwards as well. But thank you for watching this series if you've been here from the whole way through. Hopefully you've gained something from it. It has been quite a long one, just mainly because I've chose not to edit the entire video down. Yeah, I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope it's been entertaining. I hope you've learned something. Go follow me on Instagram so you stay up to date with everything that I'm doing in terms of my music and these YouTube videos. I'm now going to play the song all the way through so we can listen to where we got to after God knows how many hours. It might have been 6 to 8 hours that this project came into. So let's play it, and I just want to say thanks again for watching, and yeah, I'll see you next time.